All right, in the previous lesson, we explored how to create a Ruby file from within Atom and run it within Atom using the Atom Runner extension. We did a very simple one-line file, puts hello world, and the puts command outputs text to the screen, whatever you put, in this case, between double quotes. We put a bunch of characters, hello world, and we see it output to the right on Atom Runner. Now I want to show you how to run this file from the terminal. This is going to be another option. Some lessons in this course will simply not work within the Atom Runner environment, so we'll have to run them from the terminal. The output otherwise will be exactly the same. So you can see here that I've placed my example.rb file within my Ruby folder on my desktop. As I mentioned earlier, how you structure your folders and files is up to you, whatever is manageable for your end, on your end. But I have example.rb here, so we're going to have to navigate to this folder, desktop Ruby, and then run the file from there. So let me open up a brand new terminal window. There it is. And let's now review all of the commands that we know. So we can begin with pwd. That gives me the current directory. If I want to see all of the files and folders within the current directory, I can do ls for list. There I see the desktop folder, which I want to go into. So I can do cd desktop. CD is short for change directory. You follow it up with the name of the folder you want to go into. I can verify that I'm in the right folder by writing pwd again or using my arrow keys to navigate back to that same command. I am in desktop. Let's now repeat the ls command to see the files and folders within my desktop directory. There's the Ruby folder that I want. I now want to navigate into it, so I'm once again going to do cd Ruby. I'm once again going to do pwd. You can start to get a sense that this is a fairly repetitive process. There are, of course, shortcuts, but this should work for beginners if you want to practice all of these commands in your terminal. So I am in the proper folder, and now I want to see all my files. So I'm going to do ls to list, and there is my example.rb file. All right, I'm ready to run it. As long as I'm in the same folder where I have the file, I should be all good. So if your folder structure is different, if you have it in another folder or perhaps a subfolder, you have to use this combination of commands to get down to that nested folder where you have this file. As soon as you write ls and you see example.rb, then you know you're in the right folder, and at that point your commands should be identical to mine. One additional command I wanted to quickly introduce here is clear. Clear does exactly what it says. It clears the current output of the terminal. It does not remove where you are, so if I clear everything, you can see I moved back to the top of the terminal, but I'm still in the Ruby folder, as you can see right here. I'm just going to do ls again so we can see that here's my example.rb file. So how do we run this file? We simply write Ruby, that's the program, that's our language, followed by the name of the file that we want to run. So in this case, I can either type out example.rb, and you do have to put that extension at the end, or the terminal is actually pretty smart, and if you simply type 1 or 2 letters, or even 3, depends on what the files are like in the folder, but the terminal can try to make a guess about what file you're referring to. And in this case, since we only have one file and it begins with the letters EX, at this point I can auto-complete. You auto-complete by pressing the Tab key on your keyboard. There you can see that the terminal has filled in example.rb for me. You can either type it in or use these shortcuts to accelerate your process. So now that I have my code written, all I have to do is press enter and Ruby will run the file. And just like in the output of the Atom Runner, we're going to get hello world. This is a simple one-line Ruby program. This thing has been outputted from the puts statement that we used within our code. You can see this output is identical to the Atom Runner output. We're just seeing it here in the terminal instead of within Atom. That's really all there is to this lesson. I just want to show you how you run a sample Ruby file. So if at any point you want to kind of branch out of Atom a little bit and play around, feel free to always use the terminal to navigate to your central Ruby directory and run your files from here. This is incredibly good practice if you want to go into any kind of programming, because the terminal is key among developers. It's a very, very, very powerful, very quick application for interacting with your computer through commands. Before I end this lesson, though, I just want to show you one more thing that we're going to be exploring a little bit later after I'm done helping all the people set up Ruby on their Windows machines. There's also an available command from the terminal called IRB. All right, I'm going to type it out, IRB, and it's called Interactive Ruby. And Interactive Ruby is essentially a playground or a sandbox where we can execute basic Ruby commands just to practice with the language. Nothing here is saved, so as soon as we close IRB in the terminal, all of our work here is gone, which makes it the perfect environment to practice with. So just like in my example.rb file, if I execute a sample Ruby command like puts hello world in double quotes, you can see it's going to output hello world for me right here below. Please ignore this little syntax right here with nil. We'll dive into that a little bit later. But you can see otherwise my code right here works. So if you ever want to try a sample line of Ruby code and you don't want to go through the laborious process of creating a file, saving it within RB extension, writing the code, then navigating to the terminal and going to the right directory and then running Ruby with that file, you can simply write IRB anywhere in your terminal. It'll launch this application where you can play around with Ruby very quickly. We'll dive more extensively into IRB or interactive Ruby in one of the later lessons in this section. To quit IRB, you can simply type exit or quit. I'm going to type exit. And then, of course, to quit the terminal, you can either just close it by navigating to the terminal thing right here. Terminal, and then selecting quit terminal, or the keyboard shortcut, which is Command Q, should close it, and that's it. That's all we need to know for this lesson. As you can see, we can run our Ruby files from within Atom or from within the terminal. We'll be doing both throughout the course, and I'll see you later where we're going to pick back up after I'm done helping all the people install Ruby on their Windows machines.